Welcome to LAScast, the last art podcast that you'll ever need. Welcome to season two. We took a little hiatus, and by hiatus, I mean we kind of fell off the edge of the earth because everybody's schedules kind of desynced for a little bit. But our friend here and new host, William, decided that we just say fuck it and do it live.
Yeah, we wanted to bring it back because there's so much potential for this, and there's a lot of artists that we had burning questions for.
And speaking of artists that we have burning questions for, today we have Banana, creator of the current Dad Gallery slash last website. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm the 1banana, as I am commonly known. Um, I made the last site, and I was week one in the original Last Artist Standing site.
So he's an
Were
original
you
lassie.
were you there in the unmotivated loser days as well with that?
Actually, I was briefly so I spent. I think this was between because I was in Wisconsin at the time, so this was between the my last hiatus, like when I stopped posting a last slash dead. Um, I joined Unmotivated Losers briefly, and then it was interesting. Like they gave me some feedback and stuff like that. But like I had some point where I just didn't post something because I was working on something else at that time.
So I do have a couple questions about unmotivated losers era because that's such a early version of last
Wait,
that nobody ever talks about it.
hold on a second. Like when you say Unmotivated Losers, there was like a
The
did they
DeviantArt group.
stop? Well, yeah, I know, but like did they stop doing things? Like I didn't
Uh,
know it was like
It's
an
still
era.
somewhat active, but
it's still
definitely
it's a
is a
Discord
branching
server
point for
now.
the last community.
I was in there for a little bit actually.
Yeah.
I got kicked out because I stopped posting.
Yeah,
So
exactly. They're very stringent on that, which is to their credit, they do their best to maintain the sort of ethos of the group.
to be honest, like I want to get back in there because they did have some talented artists in there that I really wanted to steal some gains from. But how was how was the transfer from unmotivated losers to actual dad?
So that was actually I actually did last before I did Motivated Losers. Um, last was, if I recall correctly, because I remember in terms of where I was age and situation wise, like that was somewhere along the lines of winter in my senior year of college that I first joined last. And I did that up until the summer when I dropped my streak and I was just like, oh, I'll take a small break for a while. And then that small break ended up being longer than it probably should have been. And then I rejoined Unmotivated Losers. I didn't rejoin. I joined Unmotivated Losers for the first time. Uh, Participated in that for a while. Dropped from that to focus on writing a backstory for a character in a D&D campaign that I was participating in. And then I heard about how Last was still active, but it's now known as Draw Every Day. And so I posted in that sporadically. I had on and off streaks, I think, for that um, until the site went down out of the blue like that.
Yeah.
The W nuke. Not many can survive it.
I still have minor beef about it, but he does confess that it was kind of like a douchey thing to do. But
I mean, he never really said he was going to keep it up forever, and now we know he's very likely to nuke his stuff. I still miss World War III.
see that's where have to be careful because I said I want this to last forever. So fucking hell, I need to live up to that expectation.
Was there a specific point that you got the urge to kind of make the dad website as it is today?
As it is today, in terms of the features that it has currently, or just making it
Making the
in and of itself.
yeah.
Um, I guess there were two big reasons for that. I guess the one is that I really liked using Dead, so um, I wanted some place to catalog my streak, as it were, and I use it more. I stopped using DeviantArt. I stopped using Tumblr because I couldn't be arsed. I stopped using pretty much any other outlet to post my stuff. But I just like using this kind of format to just track my progress. Just the no nonsense. Just because like Tumblr's interface is super trash, and now it's flagging like here's the hilarious thing: when Tumblr enforced their like no porn policy, right? I
Yeah.
had shit tons of life studies, right?
Oh
Oh,
no.
And like it didn't recognize that they were like nude figures, and instead flagged some of my other stuff. It's just like that that's not even a
You tricked him.
yeah, just like that's not even. So I'm just like, oh, am I drawing badly enough that the filter literally can't recognize a naked person? Shit.
yikes.
But like apparently, like there's some really good artists like in LAS who have gone through the same thing. It's just like yeah, it flagged this random drawing of a car as being pornographic, but
Mhm.
like it totally missed this literally explicit drawing. Because like who chalk it up to Tumblr to do anything right, right?
I mean, I don't even feel as if it's Tumblr's fault. I just feel as if it's just run by a bunch of idiots. I feel as if Tumblr,
No, but
if
like that's like Tumblr's fault in the sense of management, right? Because it's reflective of sort of what direction they want to take it in. So when we say it's Tumblr's fault, that's well, I guess like that could refer to either the way it's being managed or the way the community works. Because I know the way the community works is like super liberal and definitely very sex positive. I say like the types of people who occupy there are actually fairly diverse politically, but like no one says no to porn really on the internet. So I think that's one thing we can all agree on.
yeah, porn is pretty great.
Yeah,
Please quote
fucking
me on that, FBI.
whether you're alt right or Antifa, you're probably jacking it.
Yeah, true.
So
Same.
unity through porn.
I want that to be a banana quote.
It feels like a lot of social media sites are now zeroing in on porn artists and kind of making it a lot harder for their platforms.
Which kind of stupid considering how much money that gets, how much revenue
Yeah.
that gets for websites. But I guess like when you're talking about advertisers and like the way their products are associated with things, they don't want to be associated with things that are kind of not safe for work. Case in point, the sort of Tony the Tiger incidents. But like Chester the Cheetah was cool with it. Like it all depends on like the social media manager's outlook.
I love just going through that tweet and just looking at this tweet has been deleted like 50 different times. Oh, it feels like a desolate wasteland. But speaking of advertisers, you have also made the very interesting decision to not host any advertisers on the dad website. Would you like to kind of explain why not?
I mean, the previous sites didn't do that, and did they? Did they ever?
No, they didn't ever do
Yeah, exactly. So
advertisements.
I figured, like, why not, like,
Keep
not
the
continue?
tradition?
Yeah, well, I mean, just like it's a simple site. The population of the site's not egregiously high, so I didn't really see any real need to have advertisements on there.
You were also saying a bit earlier that there was two urges, and you went kind of into detail for the first one, but what was the second kind of urge that made you want to?
The second urge is that like I've had the sort of aspiration or dream to be an artist in some capacity since I was like I think in middle school when like the Flash era was, at its sort of golden age of sorts. And gradually over time, the thing I wanted to do evolves. Like, oh, I want to be a great Flash artist. Like, oh, I want to make awesome cartoons for a living. Or to like now, which is, oh, I want to, do a bunch of personal projects and maybe get like funded through Patreon or merch. Like, but the ambition of making art has always been there in some capacity. The thing is, I always struggled with starting because, like, when you're starting out as a beginner, it's sort of like
Crushing?
you yeah, it's crushing because like I went to like live drawing sessions because like that's what you do. Like, it's not like in the sense that like I drew like shitty little like stick figure comics and stuff, right, in like middle school, right, but when you actually want to make something like good and like presentable and like something you want to like publish and send to people, it's like you need to step up the standard of what you make. And like I'm seeing, I go to these like live drawing sessions, and I I've got like see life through OP's eyes. Only then can you understand type drawings on my fucking newsprint. While someone's made this perfect rendering of like the contours of the model's rib cage and the way it connects into like the legs and fucking everything is fucking perfect and efficiently done. It's like you did that in 10 minutes. I barely got this scrawling of a fucking It barely looks human, and like you judge yourself, like you sort of like shut down. You don't decide not to do anything, but like having LAS, it just kind of pulls you out of it. At least in the sense that it's like just draw 30 minutes every single day. Just keep doing that,
Yeah.
and by habit, you eventually grow not only comfortable with doing it, but it feels weird when you don't draw. It's just like I need to draw at least 30 minutes today.
You need to scratch that itch.
Exactly, yeah. And because it's like when it becomes a habit, it becomes comfortable,
Hmm.
And I owe a lot to Lava. I know the I know the name that was written on it was like Leslie Flake. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's his actual name. Was that his actual name?
Uh, I don't think he would have actually hit his name. I do think it was Leslie Flake for his name.
Okay. I I owe a whole fucking lot to Leslie Flake. Like, I want to use his real name because it's
Rest in peace.
I, d- I don't know. In fact, I slightly doubt that I'll actually get anywhere truly meaningful or like widespread with the kind of work that I make. But making it anywhere, like even anywhere at all, in terms of like just like even just like making a simple comic, I owe that entirely to Leslie Flake.
Well, that's very
It's
That's
sweet.
that simple.
that's
You
very
know.
touching.
So I want to preserve the ethos of his website and I want to carry on that legacy. And after the fall of Dead, I want to make sure that Dead is that permanent final home that we can have and people can share in it. And maybe when I get more experienced, we can handle a larger load. The website will be more secure. Or here's the sort of pipe dream: is like if I become a really wealthy artist, then like that becomes the full time thing. It's like I might like hire someone to like maintain that part time and create
Hmm.
new features and like keep it up to code and stuff. Because I don't know how much. The goal is not to have to do programming. I don't actually enjoy programming that much
Oh, that's
outside of
interesting.
like.
Actually, I wouldn't have guessed that. Damn. I think, well, it's really tough when you're a beginner for getting direction and knowing what to do, and that's part of what makes it so discouraging to try and consider art an actual career. It's because you can look at all these really great artists and have no idea because you're still drawing really, really crap things. But I feel like Dad is kind of that stepping stone for it because you have so many other artists in the same spot that you can see progressing all at the same time, and you end up learning a lot from them in that community type atmosphere. And a lot of
Yeah.
people get seriously good very quickly in this kind of environment.
It's a
Yeah.
very
Exactly.
it's a very hyper competitive environment too.
Yeah,
So that
definitely.
really just really propels people forward. Some people can't handle the stress though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also just it has that sort of peer group effect where it's like if your friends or like if your companions or if like people around you are being productive, you'll tend to be more productive as well. And that's why I feel like it's important that like these websites were made with the idea of, oh, this is literally just to track your habits of like continuing working on improving what you're doing, right? It's not
Mhm.
just, oh, this is a gallery, let me just shove all the stuff that I have on here. No, it's like if you upload it, like did you drew it in like the last week or the last day or the last 2 days that you were here, etc., etc. And seeing the way that other people can improve over time, like in real time, that's a big thing. And like I had that moment of really big like sort of inspiration where I really like took off and like I saw like real progress. Like I took some large steps I wouldn't normally be able to, and so I'm excited to get back to that after I finish these site features that I've been procrastinating on.
That's a really important step in somebody's artist life because once they get that first big step, they know how it feels. So then they start really hungering for that feeling again. And it kind of becomes like a drug addiction in that it's like, I really need that hit again. And you start working super hard to try and get it again. As difficult or as impossible as it seems. Because I notice a lot of professionals really don't seem to feel as if they improve a lot, even though you could look at the work and see that they made some big strides. They don't really feel it anymore, which seems kind of unfortunate, but it is some interesting effect that I've observed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's the really good artist Steve Houston. I'm ripping this straight from a Proco podcast, but uh, he's talking about how when you kind of hit a wall like that, you just have to try something new. Oftentimes, kind of surprising effect is if you become good at one thing and you continue to do it, you might actually start to regress in some ways because you're trying new things that are no longer really working.
No. I mean, like, I don't think I've hit a point in terms of competence where that's actually like, like, I know I like, it's like, oh no, you're learning, like, but no, that's like kind of true. I'm still like fucking like hyper beginner still, but like, I still find it meaningful to like, like it was sort of like while I'm doing these applied perspective studies, just like pushing myself in directions which I would normally not be comfortable in. Was like, all right, fucking draw four figures there, or like consider how the light shows on. It's like, or how can you describe the texture efficiently, or fucking do this insanely distorted point of view and perspective.
And would you say that there are any artists that you look up to that really help push you in those kind of experimental and brave directions?
Are you talking about like artists in general that are inspiring to me, or just like what drives me to experiment?
I
Those could
mean,
be
you could,
both questions.
yeah, you can
Because like I
interpret the
feel like
question any
in a
which
way
way.
those two things are a little bit separate.
Yeah.
Because like there are some artists that I just find interesting in terms of like, well, not just interesting, like kind of inspiring in general, um, in terms of representing what I want to be capable of doing at some point. And then like as for like the sort of the breakthrough of experimentation, like once I made that like first big return post where I was like, I drew my first like dragon like ever, like genuinely, like
Hmm.
sincere effort. I was just like, fuck it, you know just try your best and go as far as you can with it. And when I mean try your best, it's sort of like, put forward a sincere effort. Because, like, even in LAS, like, I just drew 30 minutes every day. The amount of effort I put forward for, like, what I was trying to learn, that sort of, varied. Especially since, like, topic challenge was there and, like, I was sort of distracted between jumps. Like, oh, I'm just going to do this. And it was just a bunch of, like, basic drawings with no real progression between them. But, like, when you actually, like, focus on deliberately trying to learn a concept, deliberately trying to apply it, and then tacking on some tertiary, like, um, concepts and I like ideas and like um, other challenges. Like you force yourself to think in ways that you normally don't, and I felt like I learned a lot more in that 1 month than I had in like the 2 years I was on last on and off.
Yeah, Will knows all about that, don't you?
Yeah. Well, for the 1 month or just the on and
I,
off thing.
I mean, just learning a lot more in one piece than you have in like most of your drawing time. Because you
Yeah.
always say that your fire piece was a very significant jump for you.
Yeah, like the first 3 months of being in the last star standing for me was insane growth. It was enough for me to make me want to challenge Nile. But I found it was just really incredibly effective because it was just making a finished piece to the best of my ability, and then I would stop. I would get critique on that, and then I would make the next piece with that in mind. Did that for only 3 months, but yeah, my God, it's fast progress. I feel like the time before joining Dad is such a large point of stagnation where there wasn't really any direction.
Luckily, I joined that as soon as I was like getting into art seriously, so I didn't really waste any time except for that two
wait,
months
wait,
after
hold on a
I moved.
second. Like, Dad was your like first website?
Mm, yeah, that gallery
Oh,
was the first
Really?
website.
oh
Oh,
shit! Wait, how'd you find out about it?
I so I knew about IC for
Okay.
a while because I used it while I was in high school, and then everybody knows the story in which I posted a live drawing to beginner bag, and then I got told I should stop trying and stop drawing, and then I stopped drawing for 2 years. And then after I got kicked out of the military, I was like, you know what? I'ma just come back to drawing. So I came to IC for resources, and then I saw the last thread, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So I came in, and then I joined the Discord, and then from there, it's pretty much history.
You met your boy Will. Match made in heaven.
Yep.
Wait, like, Will, hold on a second. Like, were you? You were definitely in Dead, right?
I was. I was before Dead happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in
Wait.
the
So
Last Artist
were you?
Standing.
Oh, you weren't in Last Artist Standing?
I was in Last Artist Standing. I
Oh,
gotta
right.
watch it
Cause
lose its updates and slowly die over a large span of time.
wait, what week were you?
Oh, I was something pretty high up. Um, by the time I joined, the last site was already starting to die, where new joiners after week 42 weren't getting eliminated.
Yeah.
So if I didn't actually draw or whatever, it's like nothing happened. I'm like, oh, nice exploit. I'm fine. But yeah, site kind of died. It took a while. It took almost a year, I believe, for it to die after that point or something like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
So,
that happened, got killed, and then boom, dad.
and now we're here.
That was a really terrifying point, which I don't think gets talked a lot about, but the
What,
community
the death of
definitely
Dead?
was a point of dying had you not kind of stepped in there. I know you believe there's a lot of people who could have stepped up to the mantle, but honestly, I
There
think.
was actually one other person who could have, to be absolutely honest.
Mhm.
Like, I think Fluff definitely could have. He had a working knowledge of PHP, and I still feel kind of bad about it. But the sort of way I can describe it is like I'm trying to like intermittently, because like there's actually a third reason why I wanted to make the dad site
Mhm.
was because I was soon going to be like I was quitting my old job, and I had already set an exit date for that, and I wanted to pick up some pertinent web development skills. So I basically this gives me some sort of impetus, right? Because like programming on your own in your free time, I'm not one of the kind of people who finds that particularly fun or amusing, unless I'm solving some interesting problem, right? Like I like puzzle solving. I don't like programming. Um,
Mm.
but like if I didn't have like dad as sort of like impetus to do that, like it doesn't really give me the strength to like oh like make something. You know, I like to say like dad is important because it's I've had a lot of ideas for projects and stuff, and dad is like the first one that I've actually genuinely finished. But on the same time as that is just like I had the desire to make it, but like someone else also did. Nick Nack wanted to help, obviously, um, and Fluff was already in the process of like literally making the site. He was construct. He had like you know, templates and structures for it already, right? Um, so we wanted to like all work together on it. So I like we as a group like were discussing it, and eventually he was persuaded to like join our Ruby on Rails crew, right? Um, thereby abandoning the structure that he had there. And then, but like a combination of me being somewhat busy to the last few weeks of my work, and like not having much energy to commit to actually like putting towards the site, and Knickknack's relative inexperience, and it was kind of not a. I had no real understanding of how to properly collaborate. Is part of the issue. So
Oh,
at some point he kind of got like sort of fed up, and like outside of a few small things he contributed, he kind of just dropped from the project. And so I carry a little bit of guilt about that, in the sense that it's possible dad could be very different and perhaps even better if I had like stepped out of the way, and like Fluff was like the site manager and stuff. But in a sense, like um there people say it's like selfless, like I'm not asking for funding or like asking for like hosting fees, but like dad, like I get just as much as that out of dad as I as like the people who use it get out of it, in the sense of when you're not employed, you need some reason to get out of bed.
True. Yeah.
It gets you out of bed in the mornings. Um, gives me purpose. It gave me the first project to fulfill, and it gave me sort of that you know that sort of esteem of being the person to hold hopefully the last step of that, like sort of torch, and in a sense, it feels like kind of like selfish that I took it from someone who could have been potentially more qualified.
And
Well,
potentially he could have not really followed through for much longer, though. I know he's shown that he's a very dedicated artist, at least, but no guarantee. You have to keep in
Yeah.
mind that he wouldn't
That being
be
said,
doing that.
I do still kind of feel bad about that.
Alright, fair enough.
history remembers the victors. Do you think we should get into the server questions?
Alright, Banana, this is a very serious question. Thoughts on when P-Poster will be unbanned?
I mean, it's not like he was technically banned to be honest. I just deleted his account, but like he made it clear that he was kind of trolling anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, P-Poster was also kanji, which was interesting.
We've had
I didn't
some
anticipate
troublemakers here, truly.
Like, but like it's not in the sense that like it's more been shitposting than actually genuinely malicious.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I kind of found that interesting when it came to like Last and Dead. No one actually deliberately tried to like fuck with a site that, in the terms of something that's like permanent or like damaging or like no like fucking hacker team was like sicked on it. Like fucking quick poses. I had a fucking heart attack when I accessed quick poses one time. I think I was in like I had just graduated college then. It was fucking like hacked by I think someone called the Lizard Squad or something like that. And they
What?
fucking put their like, you know, fucking like let me see if I can look this up. Yeah, the Black Hat, yeah, fucking Lizard Squad hacked the fucking Quick Poses site and like, you know, put their like signature all over. It's like this has been hacked by blah 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 from Lizard Squad. Like, you know, and I'm like, fuck, dude, this is creepy as shit. Um, but like I'm glad that that kind of shit hasn't happened because
Yeah.
to be absolutely honest, and I think this might apply. I don't know. W seems seasoned, but I don't know about Lava. But like I'm not sure Lava or I would be 100% ready to tackle a situation like that. But I do have some preventative measures in place, but nothing that would stand up to like a serious, like deliberate sabotage attempt.
Yeah. Well, I think that's okay. I don't think anybody cares enough to try.
I gotta ask, did has there ever been a troll on the website that you found legitimately like funny?
I thought P Poster was hilarious.
Fair
Like
enough.
there's one where there's like this weird centaur, shitty centaur MS Paint comic that he drew that was actually somewhat wholesome and actually made me laugh out loud. I forgot what it was. The punchline was so stupid though. It was like a basically a big pun. Oh, it's like yeah, it was like a girl centaur was talking to his like mom centaur. It's like, "Mom, can you get me a big rack?" And then it's just like there's like literally a metal rack. There's here, honey. He's like, "Thank you, I love it so much." I'm like, okay. It's
People
just
saw was
so
an
absurd
error.
that it's like funny. It's like the fucking like look how hard I can pee stick figure webcomic. Yo, dude, check out how hard I can pee, and then it's just, and then like a zoom in on the fucking. There's no face, but like you can see a face there. There's like absolutely no face drawn on the stick figure.
Oh,
But you could feel it.
No, yeah, like you've seen it, right?
yeah. I've seen you posted it before here.
I love that comic so much.
Yeah, because like it's just this is like you know this I don't mean this I don't mean this ironically. This is the kind of shit that like artists like are envious of. It's this communicative efficiency. There's nothing drawn on here, but the slight like angle down, like the implication is sufficient that like you know exactly what that face is conveying, even though there's nothing on there.
It's the definition of less is more.
Exactly. Like fucking like that's a what was it Scott McCloud type of thing, right? That whole like symbols representing and being able to be projecting things onto it.
Okay, so from Kringle, we have what is it like coding for an audience that's never satisfied?
What is it like to have an audience that's never satisfied?
Coding
Yeah.
for them, yeah.
Uh, well, I mean, it's very natural to be annoyed with the pace of things that are going. I think, okay, I might be slightly biased, but I think outside of certain things, site feature wise, I think we've had the most that we've had so far. But there is a lot to be said. The website does not look good. It doesn't. It looks fucking shit. It looks like the fucking first um like baby's first bootstrap website. And then I had this like, oh man, this redesign is gonna be fucking amazing. Everyone's gonna lose their shit. And like I have no sense of aesthetics whatsoever. And like you're like, this is awful. What the fuck is going on? I'm just like, oh, good thing I'm going on vacation. But like, yeah, I was just like, yeah, this feels bad, man. Like, and I'm like thinking about redesigning the website, like again, because like I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe like a jumbotron thing. I was just like, no, don't do a scrolling jumbotron. That's literally like 2004, and everyone hated it. Fucking no, are you fucking insane? Like every single graphic design website, it's like, okay, if your client wants a jumbotron, first flatly tell them, like, do you really need one? Because it's a bad idea. Like, oh. So I don't fucking know. Like I think I spent a lot of time procrastinating because I literally just did not know how to handle certain UI design, which is kind of paradoxical because I'm pretty passionate about UI UX and like what's bad user experience and stuff, right? But when it comes to actually fucking making it, it's just like all my fucking sense just goes straight out the window. So I think I'm just gonna focus on like actual site features, and then the actual full redesign of the website will have to be something slow that comes at a gradual process.
Okay.
But I do like people in the threads like a vocal few have been like there's a bit of berating and stuff like that, but it's like par for the course for 4chan. There are still like plenty of people who are obviously appreciative and like express that in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on 4chan since I was in like middle school. Like I've seen some shit. I've seen I've seen like raids. I've seen like literal child porn being posted. I was like,
Jesus,
fuck,
yeah.
I'm reporting that. No. I've seen all sorts of gore. Like I've been around the bend. So like the offensive comments, that's not the shit that gets to me.
How long have you been drawing? I don't know if we ever actually fully covered
This is a really loaded question.
that.
Because if you genuinely ask that question in sense of like over like when was the first drawing and when was your like last drawing in terms of moving towards your goal, that's approximately 13 years.
Nice.
But if you talk about like the actual amount of time actually like seriously drawing, like consecutive days, I think that wouldn't add up to much more than a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay.
If I'm being
enough.
absolutely honest. Because,
I would say then the answer for that's that one.
Because, like, it's really like when I was having those insecure moments when I was first trying to draw seriously, it's like I go to a life drawing session, perform badly, cry, and then, like,
and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I feel that.
And rinse and repeat, right? And thank God for LAS. They really pulled me out of that kind of rut.
Nice. Yeah, no, the consistency is huge from LAS. That's such a key thing in actually improving, which is why I think we have so many fantastic members here. Joe, do you want to keep rolling some of these?
Let me
questions?
see. Okay, so from Ursus, what is your first project going to be?
Oh, that's hard. What's my first project gonna be? Well, that's something I have like a lot of ideas, but like I'll have to see. Like we'll revisit that because like I don't think I'm at a state where I'd be satisfied starting work on any project. And I know it's like, oh, just start it, just don't be so precious of it. But like no, I legit like I need to learn perspective and figure drawing at the very minimum first, and then move on. Once that's done, I'll start exploring. I promise. And might be dragon related, might not.
Well, that just kind of leads into my next question.
Yeah, I like the tease.
But like, ironically, like not all of my ideas are dragon related.
Really?
It's a big surprise.
But where do you see your art going then?
The biggest goal I have is creating sort of one of the best possible like webcomics on the internet. We're talking sort of like Problem Sleuth from MS Paint Adventures, not Homestuck.
Homestuck. The best
webcomic of all time.
Homestuck?
Yeah. Like Lackadaisy is another example. there's a reason why each page comes out once per month. But even once a month, it's still staggeringly high quality. Even when she's just fucking around, like making jokes, like fucking drawing one of the characters in a pickle car. I need to bring this up.
Oh jeez.
Like, the one thing like Tracy Butler always strikes me as sort of like the gold standard of what I want to be able to draw in terms of she has this uncanny ability to make things really meticulously rendered and highly detailed while never sacrificing any of the expressiveness that the characters have. The the wild expressions, the cartoony attitudes, like the momentum of the motions, these are all still preserved in the final product. And like, it's sort of like you see things like these animatics for like say
Mhm.
shows like Steven Universe, right? And like they're full of depth and momentum and like impact and stuff like that. But when they actually render it, it's like lifeless. There isn't any timing to it. Like the momentum is lost. It doesn't feel as nearly as expressive. But like from sketch to execution, it's all still preserved, which is
I think
phenomenal.
that's due to the process that the storyboarders go through because the storyboarders make the storyboards and then that's sent over to the animators in Korea. I think with that little disconnect
Yeah.
there, that's where it happens because with Lackadaisy, she's the one doing this, so it's her artistic vision from the very start to the very end. It's all her, so that really allows
Yeah,
her to
exactly.
shine through. When in comparison to
Yeah.
something kind of professionally made through all the stages of production that it goes through. Everybody adds their own stuff, but there's a little bit, one could say, of soul lost in each little going through.
Soulless, one might even say.
Uh,
Oh boy.
Yeah. There's
Uh,
also another miscellaneous online artist who pretty much approximates exactly what I want to be able to do at some point. I think I posted this earlier in Shy Boys when we were talking, but like the style, the like the sort of subject matter of like I think this guy also does furry porn. So fuck, but like I don't know. I just really like the aesthetic, like and the fucking he draws plenty of like medieval or fantasy esque like drawings and whatnot
it
with
seems
like
like expressiveness is something very important to you in the art styles
yeah.
that you've chosen here.
I think I kind of want like the best of both worlds in the sense that I want to be able to at one day we're talking like years from now, be able to render like beautiful drawings with also like highly expressive like characters. Yeah, and and I think that's I don't think I could go like full realistic or overly cartoony. Maybe like over cartoony when I do like a sort of a shit posty sort of sense. That sort of aspect of people's personas, like I fucking envy that about artists though. Like actual artists who have like a profile online. It's just like they do Q&As and do these cutesy sort of like chibi versions of their character. Not even like chibi's not the term for it, but like I just use that because I don't know any other ones.
Yeah.
But like shit posty versions of like their main characters or artist avatars and shit like that, and like bam, like they can just answer questions ad hoc and it looks cute and fun or like just fun hilarious. And I'm just like, I wish I could
I think
express
that
myself
just kind of
online like
falls
that.
into the thing where it's like when you're not trying, that's when you're at your like peak expressiveness.
Yeah, which is why I think language is a good metaphor for learning art because unless you can if you know the words and how to use them in what order, you can't really roll off the cuff like that. It's kind of like art where if you don't have that baseline like experience talking the talk for like real and actual experience, then you can't really like do those things on a whim. Like this little sketch, I bet took this guy like what 5 to 10 minutes at most, right?
Yeah.
But like he was just like, oh man, this would be a funny like culture shock situation. That's one of my favorite motifs in any sort of culture, like sort of um media is culture shock. Like when like Digimon come to like the human world and shit. It's like, oh man, those are my favorite episodes of
They're just
Digimon.
kind of going around exploring stuff that we kind of really take for granted.
Yeah, or like Hataraku Mao-sama, for instance. That shit's great. I love it. As for last, in terms of like artist influences, I think Kazoo.
Yeah.
I really like Kazoo stuff.
Okay, so Ursus is asking, if you self-inserted or cameo in your own work, how would you go about that?
Self insert in terms of like what my artist avatar would be, or just like self
I mean,
inserts in
in
work in
like,
general.
so in one of your feature comics, how would you insert yourself, if at all, into it?
Okay. That actually had ideas for. If it was like a game, like I'd probably put myself as a cameo and says like secret, like boss fight or some shit like that. But like I'd like have like decked out in like all the sort of edges, like oh like I like I'd have like ice dragon wings and like blade that looks like cartoonishly edgy and shit.
Like
Like
over the
depending on
top.
context, yeah, over the top as hell, and be like fucking ready. And then you hit me, it deals like 7,000 damage. Like oh fuck that shit, ow, fuck. Yeah, that really. I'm fucking bleeding. This fucking. Ow,
Please spare
please.
me.
Uh,
I
all
can't take
right,
no more.
all right. You win, you win. Fuck, I didn't know how bad this would be, but like because like that's how I'd actually react it. Because I've taken like fucking I don't know, like a childhood's worth of Shotokan karate lessons, but like when it comes down to an actual fight, I'm probably the biggest candy ass that there is. I might be able to like autism strength out some like really strong punches, but like I probably would go down pretty easy. But like I think it's just fun to do it that subversively because like people are just like, oh man, I'm gonna make self like because there's too much of that self inserty type stuff when it comes to the internet. I fucking Andrew Hussey did it too. I was like, what the fuck was that? Although it was kind of weird. It wasn't like it was a bit gratuitous, but it wasn't like it was. It was also kind of tongue. I don't know. I don't read
Well,
Homestuck,
we have
so
the resident
Yeah.
Homestuck expert here.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a lot of years. I was a different
yeah.
man.
But in terms of like cameos, I think the thing I've resolved is that I'd probably, if it's like a video game, I would probably slide Lucas in as sort of my go-to
Mhm.
avatar for myself in terms of like
From
he
Earthbound, is it?
no no it's like the dragon I drew, the
Oh.
first one I ever draw,
Oh, okay.
because he's like the representation of my new creative motivations. Just like fuck being anxious about things. Just go on, draw the things you want, do it sincerely, critique yourself fairly, and just
Mhm.
keep pushing yourself, right?
Mm.
So he'll be the overseer god between whatever like realm that like things are created in. Like and there'll probably be Easter eggs of him hidden within the works that I do.
Smart
If
ass
it's like a video
dragon,
game,
TBH.
yeah. He'll probably be like he's gonna be friendly. He's probably gonna be like randomly like rendering like set pieces like oh you weren't supposed to see me here. Well, I'm just gonna finish this up and I'll be out of your way. I feel like on this note, I was super jealous that I didn't have any idea what to do when it came to like there was a challenge in the original last called draw your artist, and I had no idea what my because like everyone has that thing that represents them, right? I think Agent was his name. I forgot who. He's like that cloaked
Mhm.
like wolfy shadow thing, and then like Loki. Oh, I miss Loki. I don't know where he went.
Rest in peace.
Was that sort of
Yeah.
round-headed bird thing? Like everyone had that sort of recognizable sort of
Vosta
go-to
has
avatar
that
for themselves.
chicken thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't have anything, right? Like I straight up don't have anything for that. But
Yeah.
now I think I have a better idea
So
for it.
everybody, so now you have like a proper persona, one might say.
Yeah, when I'm good enough to do it, I know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be this like grand bright white dragon. Like that would be Lucas, and right like he's like sort of trouncing around, kind of like happy, jovial like. He's got like he represents like my creative side, so I guess like he's bright white as if
Mhm.
to symbolize a canvas, and then there'd just be me like fucking like scribbled on his back, like kind of passed out, exhausted,
True.
kind of just
Man,
tagging along for the ride.
if I knew that being an artist would be this exhausting, I don't think I would have done it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think you have to definitely take the weight of kind of what is ahead of you in steps because it is such a
It's a
ridiculously
lot
long
of
grind
work.
overall.
Yeah, it's taxing in ways that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
But I think when I got into the thick of it, I really enjoyed it for. I really enjoy it for what it is, and I really actually want to get back into it. I just need to stop procrastinating on doing development.
I think the most difficult aspect is looking like a baby, like a man child. Oh, you draw and you don't
Yeah,
make money? Why do you do it? It's like, fuck. I don't know.
yeah. It's competitive out there, which is why it's nice that I have like a full time job as sort of hard backup, or at least like I can accumulate money before I was like, I'll give this a shot, and if it fails horribly, it's like, all right, I kind of something went wrong. I can just go back to being a developer again.
But what would you say your next step for art is? Like, what are you going to focus on next when you start back drawing again?
Um, so right now I'm working through Eric Andre's lessons. Basically, Eric Andre. No,
Oh yeah,
no, wait, wait.
Eric
Eric.
Andres
Oh,
dropped
yeah,
some
fucking.
real hot
I'm
art
just. I'm
tutorials, I'm
just.
sure.
Yo, no, I actually like he chugs the ranch, dude. But no, he actually released a album called Blarf, which is a Plunderphonics album, and it's actually kind of fascinating. I actually
Is
encourage
it
you
on
to give it a
Spotify?
listen if you haven't. It's called I don't know if it's on Spotify, but the whole album is released on
Oh,
YouTube. Hopefully it doesn't get copyright struck because the whole idea is that it's spitting on the notion of copyright by because it's a Plunderphonics album
okay.
by nature it does. Um, and the opening track is fucking fantastic, but the music video that accompanies it is kind of watch it on your own time and then get back to me. Like it's interesting. Yeah, but like Eric Olson's perspective course is incredibly thorough. I think I'm moving through it slower than I should, but like taking the time to do these application studies, I don't think has been necessarily bad. I just have to know when to
Hmm.
stop when it stops being productive. I remember making that mistake a little earlier. But after that, it's basically following the Aguri guide, right? I move on to Scott Robertson and then like some figure drawing studies, and then I'll keep moving through the Aguri guide while doing some small personal projects. Once I feel comfortable with my level of perspective understanding and figure drawing, because I think if you have figure drawing and perspective down, you can do some decent like black and white
I
comics
mean,
like straight off the bat. Like you
Yeah,
have the
absolutely.
tools at that point. Then like a matter of fleshing out your work is like just getting more experience with the
mhm.
digital medium as a whole, uh, getting into color,
Composition.
getting into value, getting into and composition, environment design, fucking concepts like atmospheric perspective. Like, I mean, I've explored some of those things very shallowly, but never like in a dedicated section. But once I get that perspective down cold, then it's like figures and stuff.
Do you do you find you learn? Well, I think I already know the answer for it, but do you find you learn the most from doing intuitive work or more studying from like books and courses and type? When I say intuitive, I mean more so studying from artists or just drawing enough crazy hours that you
Mileage.
improve naturally.
I think having the lessons has been really helpful, but I think the one thing that I really screwed up on in terms of that is not applying that knowledge in a meaningful way. And I think the recent endeavors I did and that sort of motivation block I had like way back when, like that was about like 3 months ago. I think I'm itching to jump back in. Actually, I'm still on the quote
Hey,
unquote good shit.
hey.
Joe
Do you,
knows what I'm talking about.
do you
I'm
learn with
still on.
soul or soulless?
Yeah, I work with Soul, dude. Well,
Okay.
actually, I don't know if you call these arbitrary lines that define a 2D perspective grid soulful, but no, I feel good when I put down a good line.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
There's passion
but
behind each line.
yeah, but it boils down to I think it's a little bit of both. I think I realized that by following the book too hard, I don't mean like following it too hard because like it's obviously right, but it's just like doing that and not actually applying that knowledge or using it meaningfully. It's like you don't get much out of that. You
Yeah,
need
it
to
kind of sucks.
supplement it with things, right?
It's
And then like
always
Taylor,
dormant in some way.
Yeah, and Taylor clued me into this like warm-up exercise where you just observe like a photograph, try to commit it to memory. Well, not commit it to memory, but like commit elements of it to memory, then like render, just draw something similar to that, and that has done wonders for the way I sort of not only just expand my visual library, but like um also get a sense of, okay, what am I thinking about? Trying to construct form. And then you're actively applying those perspective concepts in an organic manner. It's just like, oh, how does the lip of this, Chantel mushroom sort of curve up towards the viewer? How can I explain that?
We got another question here. If two astronauts were on the moon and one of them killed the other with a rock, would that be fucked up or what?
Probably would be, I'd say. I mean, like, I don't know the motivation for it, but like, I need some more context.
Yeah, if it was strong motivation, wouldn't it be fucked up or would it?
I mean, it'd be less fucked up. Like, it's just like, maybe he fucked his wife or something like that, and they wanted to get him somewhere where he knew he couldn't escape. It's like, oh, the two of us are going to the ISS, or like, oh, we're going to the moon. Like, fuck it, yeah.
Maybe he stole his OC.
Yeah, and it's like, I knew you slept with my wife,
Oh,
and then he just like cracks open the helmet with a rock and
Cracked it up with a cold one.
Crack a cold one open for the boys. Yeah, I don't see.
That is at least a B tier meme.
Don't tell. I know someone's. Yeah, like that's a. I know Sugoi really likes that one. So
yeah.
don't tell her.
Sugoi is a normie.
As long as you have not insulted her Lord and Savior Ricardo, you're fine.
I think
she likes Timmy.
I did express this. I do think Gachi Muchi is better.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to beat this out when I'm edited. I don't want Sugoi to kill you.
I told this to Sugoi
Absolute
directly.
mad lad.
Like, oh. I bet she felt the same way as when Pine was like, ew, gross. I was like, that's my pet. I love my pet.
When did you get Puck, by the way?
That was November of last year. Actually.
I thought you had him for a long time.
Is Puck young then?
Pretty young. About if he's, I think he was about a year old when I got him. Not 100% sure, so he'd be like a year in.
Also, what urged you to get an axolotl?
Aw.
Cause this was I consider a lot of things. I didn't want a dog or a cat as a pet for two reasons. One, after work, I'm pretty obsessed with like, having personal time to myself, and I don't think I would give sufficient attention to a dog and a cat. And that's something I want to stress. If you can't give the pet, like, the proper attention it needs, like, the proper life it can have, don't get that pet. That's not good. People are like, oh, cute puppy, and then they fucking, like, leave them out in, like, the backyard or some shit. Don't do that. Fucking bad. So I wanted something that was reasonably low maintenance, but, like, something that I really enjoyed. And, like I have several favorite animals, like, fucking love any sort of corvid, ravens, crows. I love corgis, but, I can't obviously have a crow. I can't handle a corgi as a pet right now. I don't know what lizard I'd want, but I do love them. I considered a bearded dragon. I considered a crested gecko. I considered a tokay gecko. I considered all sorts of stuff. I couldn't come to a decision on that. But axolotls, all you need to do is set up the tank and get the water chemistry correct, and you're good to go. And Puck has been hopefully happily living, like, I think he's been pretty
whenever
happy.
you talk about him, you always sound really happy, and I think you'll be able to tell.
Yeah. He always, like, he's getting smarter now. Like, when he sees me walk in front of the tank, he kind of quietly follows and looks at me as it's like, do you have food?
Food?
Can I have food?
Food? Please? Just a smidgen.
Food?
Just a smidgen of coochie.
Can I have the loops?
Alright, any other questions that's not complete shit?
Fuck the dad Discord, last Discord for life. Yeah.
I'm technically an admin of the dad Discord, but, like, no one talks in it
shit.
anyway. But, like, I only really interact with the Discords for the purposes of site updates and whatnot, and maybe just chilling in Shy Boys. But that's
Wait,
pretty much the full extent.
Did we ever ask when the next site update stuff would be, or what you kind of have
No,
coming
we
up for
didn't.
that? Ooh.
Next site update, if it goes well, and it probably won't.
Ooh.
This Sunday, hopefully.
Okay.
I think at minimum, what I want is
That's like
improve-
July 21st or something.
This is going to
at this
be
point.
outdated by the time it gets uploaded because we're doing this in a week.
Yeah.
The minimum I'm hoping to get there is, better comment structure, better notification structure, fix some of the glitches related to challenges because people apparently can't edit them for some reason. Still investigating that one actually. Being able to actually delete or edit your submissions conditionally. I think the thing I'm going to set for it is like if you try to delete them 2 weeks before 2 weeks within 2 weeks of you submitting it, it's just like you can do this, but your streak will be reset because then it's just like, oh, I'm just actively hiding stuff as soon as I can, right?
Yeah.
But if you go past the 2 weeks and like you hide it, it's like, all right, sure, go ahead, delete it, hide it, because I'm not going to restrict people from doing it, but it should affect your streak in some way if you're just like actively hiding every submission that you make.
I think that's pretty well thought out, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 2 weeks is a good threshold. I originally thought 1 week, but that's like
No, it's nothing.
That's not sufficient because people won't vet it out that aggressively. Actually, you'd be surprised. Fucking when in the original last, people got called out for submitting things that they made like a month ago. Like no, 4 months ago. I was like, holy shit! How the fuck did you find that out?
There's
wow,
some real autists, yeah.
You guys are on the ball. So like but that's like good in a sense, because like it's just like people hold you accountable, even if it is like kind of like
that's what I was
borderline
ask. I was
obsessive.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Tribunal.
this is tribunal.
I need to think out tribunal a bit because the need for it kind of died down. People are generally using it for
But
its intended
when
purpose.
the need arises,
I do intend to make it. Yeah, and I intend to make it. I don't know if I'd prioritize it on this one, but it will definitely happen before or at the same time of the site overhaul. And I really need to do a design overhaul because an ugly site
any
is not
idea
fun
as to
to
how the
use.
tribunal will work this time around? Would it be like a set of moderators or?
The way it's gonna work is I think I've always abided by Vox Populi. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but like the popular vote, like what people perceive, because this website was always for the
people?
user's benefit. So yeah, exactly, for the people. So I don't know if I'll have an actual moderation squad, but basically it'll be the same thing that like Glass had, where you vote on things. Certain things will be portable, like, oh, this is straight up child porn, lolly or whatever, or you're posting literally posting copyrighted content, or like other violations like that. Those will be voted on, or like, oh, you didn't spend 30 minutes on this, those will be voted on, and penalties will be assessed. But like there will be minor things like, oh, this guy doesn't deserve his badge, or something like that you can report.
Yeah, I could see that actually being a way bigger applicability now for it.
Yeah, and those sort of things, oftentimes those are just accidents because people accidentally flag the challenge thing without reading the description properly or something like that, and it's not malicious or anything like that. So those would just be minor corrections. Some things like duplicate submissions, I think you could submit reports for it, and if there are enough of it, they will just like resolve themselves automatically, like silently.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I noticed
but
what
the thing is,
oh, sorry.
I need to think out the structure a bit more, I think, before jumping right into implementing it.
For the last time that we had Tribunal, I know it was a very dead system. I think when it was first introduced, it was used a lot, but people do hold themselves accountable very quickly afterwards, so
exactly.
the need became less and less.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if I think maybe I won't have an automated voting system. I think I'll just have tribunal cases opened, and then there will be like, if you're a sufficient level, you can participate in the discussion of how it should be handled, and I'll set some precedent for what punishments will be meted out based on the type of violation. and I really want to open it because like I think one of the biggest things I like is transparency, and that's kind of important. Just like being transparent about like what the people think, what I think, what was
Mhm.
ultimately done as a result of things, etc., etc.
So I kind of want to ask you about what do you think was, if at all, is going to push that gallery into the mainstream, and how
Oh
would you handle that?
gosh,
I don't.
people people were actually excited about this in the threads too. It's just like, let's advertise this on Facebook and shit. And I'm just like, not yet. Um, there are a few things that need to happen. One, there needs to be a lot of security improvements in terms of, because like when you open it out to the vast public, there's no telling the ways that they can be abused. Like fucking spam bots advertising and stuff like that, making fake accounts, like all that. We don't have nearly enough infrastructure to protect against several types of attacks. And most small
Hmm.
websites shouldn't be expected to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and even similar websites like Imgur, right? Nothing is stopping you from uploading some really disturbing shit to like
People do.
Imgur, right? Or
Yeah.
like Tumblr or like stuff. But like, they have, sophisticated systems and moderation teams that work around the clock to look at it. Do you know that Facebook actually has a dedicated review team that looks at extremely offensive content and determines whether or not it should be taken down or not? That's a shit job. But like that's the kind of like if you want to take things into the mainstream, that you kind of need a team to do that, and that involves hiring people. And that's why I'm typically anxious about like opening this up to a larger audience, because it's just like I'm not sure if I can handle a community much larger than the size of like 1,000 members,
I.
a
Yeah.
thousand active members, because we have 1,000 users. They're not all active, obviously.
I feel like the size that we're at is already surprisingly big for what this community is. Just like a
and
subcategory on a 4chan board.
and surprisingly like
Hmm.
retentive, right? Because we started
Yeah.
with around, I think I posted the statistics a while back, but we started with 102. The next season we had about 94. The next season we had about 87, and then wait, oh maybe it was like 78. And then the following season we had like 82, right?
Yeah.
So like we were like, oh, the site's dying and shit. Like we're kind of holding steady around the between the 70 to 80 mark,
Yeah.
and my actual like image hosting costs are going up, which indicates more people are viewing each other's stuff, which is expected because I implemented the thing where you could just scroll between the submissions by hitting the arrow keys or the bracket keys for the individual
Thank you for
gallery.
that.
So, you know,
I think the
yeah, no problem.
comments
That was
is.
actually really commonly
Yeah.
asked
Because
for.
it's a nice quality of life.
The comments is also a really good feature for having people, I think, click on more
I
of the
remember,
images
Yeah.
I remember
because
the
it's
whole
nice to see.
You find
comment
them.
debate.
Yeah,
Debacle.
I that was this was a poorly thought out idea on my side, because like my philosophy on things on the internet has been like internet discourse is shit, because nobody ever thinks out what they say. Fucking people write these long tirades on Twitter. It's like, why are you doing it on Twitter? Or like, just like saying random fucking bullshit without justifying anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's like emblematic of the way our culture operates. Just like they just say shit without thinking about it, or they do think about it, but they don't elaborate on anything meaningfully, because it's all about like grabbing people's attention briefly, and then you move on to the next thing, right? Like fucking Instagram operates that way. Like how did Fire Festival get off the ground? You're scrolling through a bunch of shit that you barely see for fractions of a second, and oh, giant orange square that catches your attention. It's all about attention and how it's being fetched with people. It's like that's not the way I wanted Dad to operate. So I was just like, okay, let's think out your responses. You need to write at least
Hmm.
100 characters for this, right? And this was kind of ill thought out, because sometimes people just want to say, hey, nice job. I think you're really improving. And that's like 30 characters. And to artificially increase that for this purpose of it was just I picked a battle that was meaningful to me at the wrong time, and I will concede that. And ultimately, I did end up removing the comment prerequisite. It's not even a comment limit; it's a prerequisite,
I
which is
think you're
like,
doing a lot of things right, Banana. It's fine that you don't like you don't need to get everything right the first time, but there's a lot of like companies and stuff or people even that
Yeah.
if they make a decision and people don't like it, they won't ever change on that, and they'll continue to build on more and more ideas where it all kind of stems from the original thing.
Yeah, and it's like that's something I have to remind myself. It's like big companies sometimes don't even know what their users want.
Yeah.
Like fucking Windows with like when they first came out with like Windows 8, was it? Just like what the fuck is this panel layout? What was the point of this? The start menu was fine. Give it back, please.
Mhm.
These panels are useless. Why do I need all of this shit? Half of these are advertisements. What the fuck? Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm still on Windows 7. It's like, where did the take away support for Windows 7? It's like, why?
Yeah.
I like it. Fucking, I'd go back to Vista instead of Windows 8. But I think Windows 10 is fine. It makes a compromise, but it's still.
It's okay.
Give me my fucking start menu back, please.
Okay. Actually, I think we could wrap this up. Actually.